What if this little girl right here is the most important character in the My Hero Academia series, and her fate will also determine the fate of the My Hero world as we know it? Now for the uninitiated, this is ERI, and she is the most wholesome little cinnamon roll in the entire series. And you can fight me on that statement.
I will die on this hill.
Now what's special about little ERI here, besides being totally adorable, is her unique quirk Rewind, which gives her the ability to reverse any person's body back to a previous state, meaning she can essentially rewind a person back to any version of their younger self. Now if you've watched season 4 of My Hero Academia or read the manga, then you already know just how powerful this quirk can be, with ERI accidentally rewinding her father out of existence when her quirk first activated, and her blood being used to create a drug that can literally devolve people back to a time before they manifested quirks, RIP permeation. But this is actually just a mere glimpse into the true potential of ERI's quirk, and I believe that the culmination of this devastating conflict between heroes and villains will ultimately be decided by ERI. But before I jump into this mind-boggling theory, I have to let you know, dear viewer, that you too hold the fate of the future in your hands. More particularly, the fate of this channel. By hitting that subscribe button and bell icon to keep up to date with all of the new amazing content the Lunchtime crew is producing, you're adding a fighter for good in this excruciating battle for great content. Now, with the god-awful self-promotion done, we can finally delve right into ERI and the fate of the future. Now, ERI as a character represents the innocence and youth of the My Hero world, as well as everything the heroes are trying to protect. This is why the main objective on the raid on the Shihei Saikai wasn't to take down Overhaul, but instead to save ERI, because the value of saving her life is worth far more than stopping someone who causes harm to others. Now you may be thinking, but how is saving the life of one child more important than stopping a supervillain whose actions could potentially harm thousands? Well, it's because in a world where the stability of society is entirely reliant on the success of its heroes, ensuring the next generation is protected will always be the #1 priority. In this superhuman society, being a hero is more than just an ordinary job. It's being a symbol. Now, not every hero is the symbol of peace, but each one is a symbol in their own right. A symbol of the good in the world. The heroes aren't just the protectors of this society, they're its very essence. So to let ERI, the physical representation of innocence, be tortured would go against the belief on the very society they are trying to protect. This is why taking ERI away from the Shihei Saikai was so important. Because if something as pure as ERI is not safe from the villains, nothing is. The best way to explain this will be by comparing ERI to her in-universe reflection, Shigaraki. Shigaraki and ERI are the two representations of the hero society. One represents the good, innocence and purity of the hero world, and the other represents the bad, cruelty and the destruction the hero world creates. One is a sweet little girl, and the other is a maniacal evil villain. They couldn't be more different. But in actuality, when you look into it, ERI and Shigaraki are two sides of the same coin. Physically, both Shigaraki and ERI have white hair and red eyes. Both of them have outlier quirks which they didn't inherit from a member of their family, and both of them use said quirks to inadvertently kill a loved one upon activation. These similarities continue, with both Shigaraki and ERI being taken in by villainous foster fathers who abused them and manipulated them into believing they are inherently destructive. The key difference between Shigaraki and ERI, however, is that ERI was saved by heroes, while Shigaraki was abandoned. This key moment is what diverts Shigaraki and ERI's paths. Because the hero is focused on saving her life rather than stopping a villain, ERI has been saved from a life of villainy, whereas Shigaraki wasn't so lucky. And it's because Shigaraki wasn't saved that the My Hero world is currently on the verge of chaos. The value of Shigaraki's life was worth far more than any villain, but he was abandoned, and thus he turned into a monster. Now, because of all of this is why I believe ERI is going to be one of, if not the most vital characters in the fate of My Hero Academia, because she is the perfect balance against Shigaraki. Shigaraki is all about destruction, destroying both society and the world it protects. His quirk is a reflection of this ideal, it destroys, whereas ERI's quirk doesn't inherently destroy, it brings back. Now, as I've mentioned in my video about what I like to call the Great Quirk Theory, quirks act as a reflection of characters' ideals and true nature. So what does ERI's quirk represent? Well, it represents being able to bring life back to the way it initially was. To bring it back to a time before it was broken or destroyed. Eri is the perfect counter to Shigaraki, not because she can create, but because she can fix. And this is exactly what I believe she is going to do. She is going to restore society to the way it was. Eri's quirk is a reflection of how she is going to impact society. Think about it. Two kids born with outlier quirks following down the same path, both punished and tortured for reasons beyond their control, when suddenly a fork in the road appears. One being left abandoned by the society it believed in, only to be rescued by a man with the power destined to destroy the world, all for one. The other, saved by the society in which it never knew existed, rescued by a boy with the power destined to protect the world and those that live in it from the destruction others would cause. One for all. These similarities are too perfect to be just a coincidence. There has to be some connection. And considering Shigaraki's current path of destruction, it only makes sense that Eri will be the one to fix it, to bring it back. Now, how Eri will do this is another question entirely. Because of Eri's young age, it's hard to imagine any semblance of a fight between her and, well, anyone. On top of this, she can't actually control her quirk, so it's not like she can willingly use it for good. But this doesn't mean she won't ever be able to. The students of Class 1A have 3 years of school to get through, and I doubt the series will end before we see this prodigy class in their 3rd year. And in that time, there's a very high chance Eri will learn how to control her powers, at least somewhat. Meaning, she can begin using them for good. Evidence of her using this power to aid the heroes can already be seen in the current war arc, with Aizawa willingly cutting off his own leg to prevent the loss of his quirk, because he knows that Eri has the ability to help him get it back. Without it even being used, her quirk is already thought of being the solution to fix the destruction Shigaraki creates, and there is no doubt her quirk will come to aid multiple other heroes during this ongoing conflict. What all of this means is that Eri's destiny is to fix the destruction Shigaraki creates. But I did say at the start of this video, Eri's fate will decide the fate of the My Hero world. And as we've already seen in the Shihei Saikai arc, destiny can be fickle. You see, while Eri's power can be used for good, it can also be one of the most devastatingly brutal quirks in the entire My Hero world. The quirk Rewind isn't just capable of reverting people back to a previous state, but it can actually revert people out of existence, as seen with Eri's father. If the likes of All For One or Shigaraki were to ever get their hands on this ability, the hero society as we know it would not just be destroyed, but wiped from existence. Imagine having the ability to not only take and give quirks, but to erase them permanently at will. A person with this power would essentially be a god, a force that no one could ever hope to stop. If the villains were to ever get their hands on Eri, then there's no doubt in my mind the society of heroes would be over, and a new society of villains would be born. Whatever happens to little Eri will certainly have a big impact on the My Hero world as we know it. Whether she will be society's savior or the source of its demise is unknown, and only time will tell. But what we do know is that this sweet little girl holds the future of the world in her tiny hands. And all that we can hope for is that with the help of true heroes like Lemillion, Deku, and Sir Night-Eye, that at the crossroads of destiny, Eri will choose the path which will bring a smile to her face and a candied apple to her hand. Thank you for watching. Plus Ultra.